welcome to the Growing in Grace podcast, and we're glad that you've joined us, and we'd like you to subscribe and like this channel, and we're glad that you're there, and we invite you to call your friends or your loved ones and let them know about this podcast, Growing in Grace. And today, we have a special guest with us, Elder Gary Battle.
Wow.
And he has a story to share with us and how God has blessed him for many years. After an aneurysm. Aneurysm, which is where a blood vessel ruptures.
Yes, it don't have to rupture. When it ruptures, that's bad.
Oh, that's bad. So it doesn't have to rupture.
No, the best way I can explain it is like a balloon.
Okay.
In an intersection of a joint, and what happens is it just inflates, and that's the aneurysm.
I see.
And then if it ruptures, that's something else. That's getting into a whole different. But it's the same thing, but now you've got a whole lot of other things.
So yours didn't rupture?
It did.
Oh, it did rupture?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you about that. But aneurysm, I don't think I ever heard the word aneurysm before
Before you had one?
Before I had one. It's like, and it is a very, I don't even know what the word, but traumatic would be one thing. And then, of course, you can have an aneurysm, as I learned, anywhere in your body.
I see.
Different places, usually where two blood vessels meet and, diverse and that sort of stuff. And, in that joint is where it normally happens. Probably you won't have one in the middle of your arm or something. It will be in the joint or someplace. In my case, I had what they call a berry aneurysm, which is located in the back of the head. And of course, if you're going to have one, that's the worst place to have it.
So you had one in the worst place?
The worst place. And ignorance sometimes is bliss. I did not know the kind of peril or the danger that I was in, and didn't know, again, I didn't even know what it was or what happens next, what happens after that. I had no knowledge of any of that. So, it just happened. But just the long and short of it, and we can talk about some of this, but I had what they call a berry aneurysm, which again is located in the back of the head, and it affected my third optical nerve, which controls the right side of your face, your right eye and all that, just this portion. And it just, again, if it ruptures, it could do a lot of damage. Well, mine did rupture and did a lot of damage, which means it left me speechless, couldn't have no movement of this nerve, this eye, the lid, all of that, the eye itself. I could see if I pulled the eye open, but that was not good. But so it just was there, and of course it paralysis. You just the right side is kind of that was kind of what you see when somebody say, oh, he must have had a stroke. That's for sure. So that's kind of the overarching what happened. It's like, what happened to you? Well, that's what happened. Of course, that's not the end of the story, but that is exactly what happened. And I was
How old were you at the time?
31.
31.
Prime. I was in probably the best health I have ever been in. In fact, it's sort of interesting. The day that it happened, I was at work, and I used to remodel swimming pools. And I was in the bottom of a pool, and chipping some tile away or something, and the symptoms were what I thought I had hit myself in the head with a piece of tile or something, because it just a real sharp pain hit me. And like I said, I was 31 and I was in great shape, and it knocked me to my knees. I just shook it off and went back to work. It's like, wow, that was strange. And then I don't know how long it happened again. Same pain, but this time things just started fading out, going dark. And of course, I didn't know what happened, and my eyes are closed, and I hear something way in the background, just voices. And then I started hearing, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And I'm trying to figure out what is going on. And finally, I opened my eyes, and somebody was like this close to me. "Can you hear me, man? Can you hear me?" I said, "Man, get off of me! What's wrong with you?" "Can you hear me?" "Yes, I can hear you. Now move. Get off of me." "Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Take it easy." They said. I'm like, what is wrong with these people? I had no idea what happened. And then I hear this ambulance and all this and all these different things. And, just everybody rushing around, running around. And I'm still not cognitive of what is going on. What is the matter here? Who did what? And come to find out, it's me that they are attending to. So I said, "Look, I'm fine. Just let me get up. I'm fine." "No, you can't move. You can't do this." "Why can't I?" "We got to check you out." I said, "I'm fine. And even then, my speech was a little slurred, but I didn't recognize that, And so then, "Oh, we gotta take you to the hospital and get you checked out and this." And I said, "Okay." So that's fine. Well, we get to the hospital, and everybody's just huddling up and talking, and I'm still not sure what's going on. Well, at that time, nobody knew what was really happening. It's just that I had a stroke or fell out, and that was for sure. But I didn't understand or get the knowledge or hear the word until sometime later they ran some tests. But that's kind of that was my realization that something must be wrong. And then it's eventually, not eventually, but just gradually, I started showing signs of something had went awry. Speech again, and just not. It wasn't suddenly, but just gradually. These symptoms start appearing, and as they ran tests and this and that, that's when they determined or diagnosed that it was a ruptured blood vessel. Well, it wasn't ruptured at the time. It was possibly an aneurysm or something like that. And the doctor was explaining to me that what it was, what an aneurysm is, and what it does, what happens, and that sort of stuff, and told me if something had happened in my head, and we're trying to control your blood pressure and this and that, because if it ruptures, it's gonna be very serious, and I said, well, then what could happen? Well, you could die. That's one thing can happen. Or if you, I said, and if I don't die, what then? Well, we just have to see. You could lose the eye. You could do this. You could do that. And this, all this was not just interesting. It's like now I got to process all of this kind of information. So the way they determine whether or not it had ruptured, they take a spinal tap. Of course, you understand about that. And your spinal fluids are very clear. It's like water. The second one when they finally did, and I'm just fast forwarding here, mine was like cranberry juice. So that's a ruptured blood vessel in the worst possible place, and can do the most serious kind of damage, because if you survive, you will be paralyzed, you will be possibly blind or limited sight vision. Again, that third optical nerve controls the movement of this eye and the lid and all that kind of stuff. And not very long after that, all of those symptoms were prevalent.
Well, and so with all of that, clearly, you survived. And,
that was a good thing.
Yes, and clearly, those things, all those worst case scenarios didn't happen to you.
They did.
And so, where did your faith come in, and what happened with your faith as you was going through all of this?
Well, that's an interesting story, because that's this event that we're talking about. That was 40 plus years ago. It took over a year consistently to recuperate, to get to some semblance of normalcy, Well, during that time, Bishop Lucas was the pastor here. And I think it was a Monday night, it might have been a Thursday night, I finally got back in service.
After about a year?
Well, took a while. Just about that. And remember now, I live across the street.
Yeah.
So I did. So after doing that, I'm walking barely, and I don't know why my voice was gone, but I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk. And if I did, it was very unstable. So, but we did get over here that night. I said, we're going. And Bishop Lucas said something very odd to me at that time. So at the end of the service, or close to the end, he says, we're going to have some words from Elder Battle. I may have said it out loud. I was thinking for sure. Man, I can't walk, I can't talk.
You're going to have some words from me.
But I didn't challenge him on that. It was more of a challenge for me. So I got up, finally got up and made my way to the front of the church here.
It took you a little while to get up and get to...
Right, I mean, it's not like I can just get up. It's like I'm have to figure out now how I'm going to do this without falling. And so I did do that though, and everybody was very supportive, patient, and I'll tell you about that. But I got to the mic, and I don't know what I said, but I remember struggling saying it, But up until that time, my speech was very limited and almost non-existent. But do you know, from that time, I've been talking ever since.
I can see something in that.
If you can't, I can tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, just from you saying that, how it seems like the pastor had faith that you would be able to do that. And that with you making that effort, it looks like that might have increased your faith. So.
Well,
What do you?
that's exactly what happened, and that's why I wanted to really sort of elaborate on that. But that's what happened. The event happened just as I described it. But what really happened is that, and as you say, you can see somebody else have to have faith for you until you can build enough faith in yourself or circumstances for it to take hold. So then the way I'm looking at faith gives us access to the things that we don't have, you know, or can't see or not, you know, yet. And he called me the act of obedience, the act of willingness and wanting to. And I believe, you know, God really rewards that kind of effort. And it's, you know, I didn't get no standing ovation and all that kind of stuff, and my words were so eloquent, and probably if they understood 3 words that I said, that might have been good, you know. But I tried it, I did it, you know, and that allowed me that encouraged me to do a little more, you know, to become a little bit more comfortable with that, cause, and I'm just gonna back up just a little bit, but what happened to me is that I got all these explanation, diagnosis, situations from the doctors, exactly, you know, I remember I was asking those questions and still, well, and so this was it. This was, I still, you know, I still couldn't see, I still couldn't move this eye. The lid was completely just drooped, just there. And there was a deficit in my walking and all that. So but here's the thing that I was pointing at. I came to a decision, I made a decision. And the decision was, if this is all I'm gonna have, as this is it, this is best it get, I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got. I'm not gonna let this stop me. Again, it might take me longer, but I'm not going to let this defeat me. I'm going to take this with me wherever I'm going, but I'm going. And if this is it, well, this is what I got to work with. So I'm going to make the best of it. But that started from that Thursday night, that I did something that I thought I couldn't do. And I turned the corner from that point. And there are many instances and things, and you know, we'll get to the part, hopefully, you know, when things really turned around. But it's like life. You don't live life in a day. You live life over time, over a lifetime. And who I started out being, you know, today I'm so much different.
Yeah.
You know, so
this is just one of the things
oh
that
my
helped
God.
to shape you into who you are today.
Yeah.
But it really did have an impact on who you are today, which is different from who you were before.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, so here's the thing that I learned, one of the things that I learned that is life-changing for me. I had a very great support system, my family, natural and church. You know, again, when, I mean, I don't know what people were saying, it didn't really matter, but nobody demonstrated disdain or, you know, all that. They was very patient and tolerant and that sort of stuff, and accepting of who I was then, you know, because this is it. The family was very supportive. you know, and of course, me being who I am, you can't just do everything for me. You know, you know, it's take me some time, but I get there. But that's what I learned is that you don't live life in a vacuum, or you don't get the best from life by being self-centered, selfish, and I name that as selfishness when you don't let somebody help you. You know, that's selfish.
So you had to learn to let people
I
help
had to
you.
learn. Oh, and I'm still learning. You know,
Yes, sir.
but these are things that made the impact. You know, now you said in the beginning about a blessing. I don't know what other way I could have learned some of the things that I now know. Now, does it take an aneurysm? It did
Yeah.
for me.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
let me say something about that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people want to be something
Yeah.
without going through
Oh
anything.
my God.
People want to be a thing without going through stuff.
Yeah.
They want to be strong
Without lifting a
without
weight.
lifting weights.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
want to. And I know that the scripture says that after you suffer a while,
After. Yeah.
after you suffer a while, He makes you perfect.
Yeah.
He establishes you,
Strengthen.
settles, strengthens you.
Yeah.
So, but people want to be all these things without the suffering of a while.
Yeah. And I did too.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, though, Elabelle. You're not alone,
Yeah.
and the ones out there, and
Yeah.
probably most of all of us will like the easier route. Well, if you could choose, you probably would prefer and choose that.
Yeah.
But God, He has a plan, and He knows how to do what He's doing.
Yeah. And I think you cheat yourself. And I want to say a lot of things in here, but one thing I do want to stress is, well, life is life. What it is, it don't take, you know, everybody don't have to have an aneurysm. Everybody don't have to have
Yes, right.
a broke leg, you know. But everybody do have to pay the price, whatever the cost is, as you were just talking about. We all have to. We have to then go through some of these same. Now, these processes or these declarations or decisions I made. You have to do that. You have to resolve within yourself that, okay, you may not be 6'1", and you probably never be 6'1", but that don't stop you from doing whatever it is that it would have taken somebody like my, you know, whatever. You got to do what is necessary to attain that goal. If you ain't 6'1", you need to get 4 more inches, step on a stool. You know, figure out that, but you got to resolve, you got to come to a resolve in yourself that this is not going to stop me, you know. And whatever comes in life, you just got to use it now to get the benefit from it. Would I have chosen an aneurysm?
No, I know.
Not
You wouldn't choose that.
Ever.
Yeah, a lot of stuff we've gone through, we wouldn't choose it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't choose it.
But it happened. And,
Yeah.
and so, and this is what I, you know, sometimes I have sayings, you know, and one is, it ain't personal. It's just life.
Yeah.
And that's true for me, you, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, God didn't pick me out to be picked on, but He didn't exclude me either.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a benefit, and I know He knows, I don't know, but there's some things that need to be worked out in me that, you know, it took something heavy to get my attention.
Get your attention. And so the thing I acknowledge is that the scripture says in Romans 8:28, all things
what does
work
that mean?
together. Work together for good to them that love
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
The Lord called according to His purpose. All things work together for
All of
good.
it. Yeah.
I believe that scripture. I believe that scripture. And some stuff just don't look good.
It
at
don't
all.
look good, period.
But 40 years later, you can look back at that time and you can see some things that was working, and you can see that stuff coming together, and now you can discern the good that came out of that.
Oh my God. And if I didn't go through, and we're not going to say that, but that is what I went through. I couldn't resolve within, because life is hard sometimes, but I heard somebody say, if it's hard, do it hard, But that gave me the resolve to push through and just not only push, but you got to have a vision, a sight, a plan, or a purpose, or whatever. You're not just doing something, but you're doing something for something. And I'm living on purpose now.
Yes.
And that is something that sounds real cliche-ish and shallow, living on purpose, but that means something to me. I have a reason, and then another thing I found out in that life is it ain't guaranteed, and if you're gonna do anything, probably yesterday was the time to start, but since you missed it, today would be the best time.
Get started, yeah.
Yeah, really. And so these things for me became my mantra, just do what you're gonna do and quit talking about it, I do a lot of talking, but that's not my strong suit. That's something that I had to learn to do and be comfortable with. I think I'm learning pretty good on that. But it's so much in this for me, and I think it is my personal story, my personal journey. But I think, as you're saying, we don't live, and I said this too, we don't live life for ourselves.
Right.
And it is very selfish now of me not to share my experience with somebody else, for you not to have to go. Don't wait till that happens. If you want to know, come talk to me and let me tell you, taking a year or so out of your life that you are, that's very debilitating.
Yeah. But I can see how a situation comes to mind with Jonah.
Yeah.
And how that belly of the whale experience did something for him.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Listen, I can feel Brother Jonah.
It did something for him because he was different afterwards.
Yeah,
he was
can't
different.
Be the same.
He was different after he went through that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there are some people going through some stuff now
Yeah.
that I believe that your experience can be a benefit. So we read about Jonah, we can read about some of the others who suffered in the scriptures, Job, and we can read Joseph.
Yeah.
You can read about these various ones and how they went through and what they suffered, and ultimately, the scripture says, "Whatsoever was written aforetime,
it
was written for our learning."
Yeah.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
And that is wonderful.
But there's also another reason why. It's something that happened to you 40 years ago. You can testify about it,
Yeah.
and it actually can give somebody some hope today.
Oh my God! I trust it would. It is such a blessing to talk on the other side of that, and looking back. It's almost like I'm talking about somebody else. I am really.
Yeah, because there was a different time and a different version of yourself.
But if I didn't tell people that happened to me, they really wouldn't know. And listen, I had a team of doctors, and when I was going through this experience, there was, if I make no mistake, it was at least 7 of us in various places that had aneurysms. Statistically, 50% of the people die. A greater number is, paralyzed and all that kind, and forever. and a greater number than that, it just makes them embittered and that sort of stuff. So, and the doctor explained all this to me. I'm glad I didn't know all of this in the beginning, but as we went along, I'm trying to figure out, because I would ask questions to the doctor about, well, when is this going to happen? How's that? And they would never answer me, and I got upset. Really,
which is not good for you. It wasn't good for you at the time.
No, I said, listen, why won't anybody answer these questions? He said, I'm just going to be straight with you. We have not had anybody to respond like you, so we don't know.
They were in uncharted territory with you.
Yeah, this is different. All the things that they
But it was good different.
Very good. It's like, you're talking, you are, you're moving much better. Yeah, I say, I'm still having this, and this is going on, and I'm explaining all of this.
But they're looking at you like, hey, you doing way better.
Yeah, man.
So you're doing excellent comparatively.
Yeah, but I can't walk. I can't do that.
You're trying to be your old self.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the old man back. So this is after I've recuperated from a lot of stuff, but now remember, this eye is just still, it's just not happening. And, now I'm lifting the eyelid and doing all this kind of stuff, so I can see, I know that, but it won't respond. And these are some of the things I'm talking to the doctor about, and they looking at me like, man, you ought to be shouting.
Yeah.
But over time, as you can see, that did happen, and we won't take the time to go into all of that. But that was it. And it was just, but my faith, my resolve, my just really being diligent at it. And here is something that now looking back, that I didn't recognize at the time. And we said it in the beginning, you don't live life in one day, but it's little by little with consistency. I did that. Every day I tried. I was trying to open that eye, I was trying, no, nothing, trying, just keep trying, nothing, and just, getting tired of it and trying again, but never quit, say, well, I ain't gonna do that no more, but I'm trying again, And one day, it cracked. It just
didn't come open perfectly.
It just cracked. And first of all, if you ever been where your eye was closed for an extended period of time, it made me literally sick on the stomach with all that light coming in at one. It just, I couldn't take it, but that didn't stop me either.
You was kind of glad for the process.
Yeah.
The progress, really.
The process and the progress. The process I didn't really like, but the process was good. The progress was good. But then, and so that grounded in me the idea that you can accomplish a lot with a little effort consistently.
Yeah. Which brings me to scripture. In James, it says, faith without works is dead.
I know this.
Yeah, because you've lived it.
Yeah.
And another thing that James spoke about, it says, show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works.
All of those things has to be embodied in a person some kind of way. Somehow you got to get it, not just cognitively understand it. You do have to understand it, because if you don't understand it, you don't know what you're doing anyway. But then I know it now. And so I'm not moved, I'm not upset, I'm not whatever. What people say doesn't matter to me in that regard. You understand? I don't want nobody, but it doesn't really matter what you think about it. I know what God have done. You know?
And you know what he's capable of.
So that gives me that hope that if he did that,
Yes.
and that's against all medical studies, all that I don't know what's happened since 40 years ago, but up to that time, it was like that was not happening. And I didn't finish that, but out of those 7 people that was with me in that, and this was in that group, I think maybe 1 survived, and
So you're the lone survivor of that group.
Yeah, I think it was 2 of us, and
Okay.
I think the other guy still.
So
And
maybe
that
2
was,
out of 7.
and that was pretty much the idea. And my particular case was probably the worst one. It was because it was where it was.
Yes, yes. And it did rupture.
It did rupture. And I don't know if I didn't have enough sense to get scared or upset, or I don't know what it was, but it ruptured. And they said, this ain't good. But that didn't scare me to the point where, oh my God, what am I going to, it's just like, okay, well then what do we do now? Well, we don't know. Okay, well, let's figure this out. So these are things that now, like you say, looking back, I really didn't have enough understanding to, 1, be afraid, 2, I don't know if stubbornness or whatever, but I just did not take what they said as it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just said, well, if this is what I got, we just got to figure out how to make it work.
So what are some of the things you did? Prayer,
You talking about
anointing?
you learn.
Did the bishop, did he come up and pray over you, and your prayers? And what are some of the things you did
Well,
during that
some
time?
of all of
before it was
that,
done?
but it wasn't. I wasn't in the prayer line every week.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'm going to say it this way. I did not. I had enough problems already, and I didn't want to draw attention and more of that. So some of it was just out of self-preservation, but I wasn't in the prayer line every week. I didn't go to get called for prayer all the time. Yes, absolutely prayer, and then I learned how to pray.
Even though you couldn't speak that well.
Yeah, I found out that you ain't got to say a whole lot of words to pray.
That's true, very true.
And then just doing prayer and staying engaged, and like you say, the support. I don't know, it's just so many life lessons that now looking back, some of them I knew then, but some of them I understand. Here's the thing that I think everybody needs to get on everything. You can get the verbiage, the words, but if you get the principle of what does the principle look like? What is that idea? I got the idea that you could have a normal life if you was persistent, if you did certain things, if and that looked different days. You understand? So if I just said one thing, you got to do this every day. You got to. What I had to do every day was something, in that direction. Well, when something happened that changed what you do, then you got to do something else. Well, what is that? You got to learn what that is. And you're going to make mistakes in all of that, but that don't stop you from moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you understand that it's the hope, it's the idea, it's the principle, it's it's all of that. Then you put your face on that, and a lot of times if I'm teaching, I ask this question: well, what does that look like?
Yes.
Well, it depends on who's wearing it. But the outcome is either the same or very similar. You want to get to a point, but to get there, you may have to do different things. But is that wrong? Is that right? The principle. This is what we're working with. So I'm just happy that I can share this in a way that it may not make all the sense. I may not have said it in the right way, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
And and life works the same way. It's just, and people will hear different things when I say, because somebody don't have an idea like I did what that is. So they can't really comprehend the magnitude of some of the things the nuances I'm trying to talk about. But
well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, we all have things that we're going to go through. If we haven't gone through it yet,
wait a while.
It's something that it's something that you're gonna face, and it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It could be a spiritual battle that you're dealing with. But some of these principles are the same in that you've got to exercise your faith.
Yes.
And then there are certain things you may need to do while you're going through whatever you're going through.
Right.
And so we're talking about, you had an aneurysm about 40 years ago, and God brought you on the other side of that. And somebody may be having another physical ailment or some type of spiritual attack, and God can bring them through on the other side.
Yeah.
But some of the principles are the same.
The principles are the same.
The principles are the same. That one is, you got to believe in God. You got to trust God. And there may be some things that are happening that maybe it hadn't happened in other people's lives.
Yeah.
It may be different in yours. You may go through something that's kind of unique or rare.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly.
Where it may have happened with other people's, but it's rare.
It is rare.
But God is able to deal with rare. Yeah. He's able to deal with unique. He's able to do things that's impossible. For with God, with men, things are impossible. With God, all things are possible.
I'm telling you that you said a mouthful. That's true. That's very true. And I think that's the takeaway from me, from everybody, is just your journey is yours. It's not mine. And because I'm hard-headed or whatever it is, I may have to take a turn that you don't have to take or whatever. But the principles are the same. Principles never change. Laws and different everything, certain things just never change. Principles never change. Like you say, the love of God. And faith is one principle that it is so vital until it almost defies definition, because you have to live that. That's not, faith ain't talk.
It's what you do.
And how you do it, and with the intensity and all that. And some of these things come to put the fuel in your tank, you see. Or maybe said a different way is that the fuel is there, you just didn't recognize it. And you need something to light the fire, to get you moving. Vic, I'm so thankful. First of all, yes, for being, in my opinion, sound mind and body. That may be debatable for some, but also for having the opportunity to really live a life that's pleasing to God, and now recognizing that God had a purpose for this life, and in whatever shape it's in. And I had to come to that, and that's not something easy to really just rest with. I mentioned heights and different other things, but just however you're made, you didn't make yourself. And some of the stuff that you go through, maybe you brought it on yourself, but in a lot of things, stuff happens that you had nothing to do with. And so it is a mindset. And then you got to find the benefit in it. And sometimes you got to look hard.
Yeah, right.
There's just so much that I want to say about a lot of things, but those are the things for me that is most important, to give you the resolve to really live intentionally.
Yes.
And then ask that question, you see, what did you make me for? Discover that, your purpose. I mean, really, honestly, it's like, I'm not here just to hold space. I'm here to make a difference, you see. And if I don't do that, then I have not only let myself down, I let God down, and that's not a good thing.
No.
Because I think there's a day of reckoning coming that I'm going to have to answer for what I did, not you, and you didn't cause me to do that. I did that. And I'm going to get rewarded for whatever it is I did.
Yeah.
I want a good reward.
Yes, yeah. So we appreciate you, Elder Battle, and we appreciate having this conversation. Thank you for sharing some of the things you went through and how those things helped to shape you, and some of the ways you were able to overcome that adversity and overcome that illness, and how your faith played a role in prayer and your community and your support, and the things that the suffering with that aneurysm, how it enabled you to actually come to be this better man, this better version of Battle.
Yeah, and you know what? The best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come, because you're still alive.
I'm still alive.
You're still alive.
I know we're done. Here's what I will tell you, though. I'm just really pondering that question. So in this season of my life, what am I expected? What does God expect from me now? I'm not 30 anymore. I'm not 40 or 50 or 60. But what is His expectation of me now? And it has to be it's more than what it was then, because now I've been given more, much more.
Who much is given, much is required.
And I don't think God is wrong about that.
Yes.
So I got to get on. Anyway,
so I appreciate you.
I appreciate being
here. And I
here.
appreciate our live stream, our podcast audience. And may the Lord bless you. May heaven smile upon you until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I didn't let you talk much.